Welcome back from the break. We're still with Dan Miano from the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. And we'll move on to our next story of the day. The three-day exhibition also brought together inventions in various sectors, among them being Mkulima technology. The technology enables users to communicate via the online platform. It enables farmers to communicate effectively with one another and carry out their activities smoothly. The application is found on the Google Play Store and can be used by the registered members. Meanwhile, various stakeholders at the exhibition urged the government to subsidize the importation cost. This is to enable them to access various equipment from other countries at affordable prices and with ease.
Bulk SMS ChapChap is a bulk SMS software which can be used to send SMSs or reminders to customers. It is the most feasible and essential strategy to target a mass audience as a marketing and communication tool. Whether launching a new product or would like a nationwide announcement, whether you want to remind people of a certain meeting or deal, RobiBulk SMS manages all the requirements from start to finish. The system can be used by anybody to manage their diaries. Since you can store all your appointments and activities, then the system will send you SMSs whenever that time reaches.
It's a technology where we have a farmer and we have a buyer. A farmer might produce so many things today, but how will the buyer know that they are ready? A farmer might come up with so many things, but how will he reach the buyer? So this is a technology that will allow the buyer, who is the customer, to get information from the buyer, who is the farmer, that the things are ready. For example, if today you are producing bananas, I might have so many suppliers or many customers who take them from me and take them to the real customers. So I will use bulk SMS software or an app and send them SMS directly to their phone. Every supplier has an account. This account, they can be able to say which kind of notification do they want. Do they want when I'm having a ready product? Do they want which kind of product? Then automatically, when the time comes, they get notification that the items are ready, come and pick them automatically.
The application allows instant delivery of message and flexible platform that can send over 10,000 SMSs at once.
Today we realize today maybe is an holiday. They can use the same software to thank their customer, tell them, hi my customer, today we'll be having an offer, kindly come by. So through this, their product will be sold very fast. They will not have to stay with them because there's no communication.
The system comes with a reminder to notify one of any pending deal. SMS can be stored, easily forwarded, or tracked using delivery report. It is more reliable than emailing, as the chances of the recipient reading the message is very high with limitless market potential.
What are your thoughts on that, Dan?
Yeah, technology is here, and the people who actually, for example, the last training we were having with farmers and sensitization, I explained to them that technology is here, and if you don't follow technology, then you're doomed to fail, because it's here, and if you don't change, it will change you. It will force you actually to change. For example, if you talk even from small things like the soil testing, the laboratory is pure technology, yeah, and very scientific to the dot. So when you have people like the Mkulima app coming up, we have DG Farm and all that, and farmers can get, for example, also information. Yeah, these days even just farmer can Google almost everything. Yeah, you know, these days we just say Google it. Yes. Yeah, if you have any question, Google it. So unlike old days, to get information was a problem. These days is unless you refuse to get that information, then you're the one who's refusing, so you do not say the information is there. You don't need, I don't know, to go look for a library, I don't know, go to this university and get this information you can get. But again, always advise, as much as you read so much in the internet and the Google, not all information is correct, so sometimes it's also good to use the agronomist around you, the sub-county officers, just to make sure that whatever you're trying to do in your farm is done. In the project that we are doing also, apart from the traceability that I talked about, which again will be using of satellites, again on the farm, we are coming up with a USSD code, whereby if farmer need any services, for example, you want an agronomist to come check on your farm, if it's pruning that needs to be done, if it's harvesting, even if you need as simple as even jobs, because our also idea to job creation. Yeah, we'll have youths who are trained in counties who can do the harvesting, who can do the pruning, the farming, and also I'm encouraging farmers that these kind of projects also include your children, because they are the coming generation. You don't have to have your child who's finished Form 4 or Class 8 or have the degree sitting at home and waiting for that white-collar job. They can start going also to the farm. And I remember the first day of the training when I was doing introduction of the project, when I mentioned this, there's a farmer, an elderly farmer, who sent the daughter immediately to come and join the training. So he kept away. The daughter took his seat from the day 2 to the end to the certification. And by the time we were finishing the training and the certification, she's a graduate, but she said she's not looking for a job anymore. Actually, she had a discussion with the father and told the father, the project you send me to class just to take notes and come and explain to you what needs to be done, I'm going to do it. So I've taken over your project.
And that's good.
Yeah.
But we also see on the other side of technology, aside from the apps and the various services that you can get online, there's also this other side of where you have equipment, let's say like the milking machines and everything else. And you find that the current importation cost is quite high. Do you think that it was, what are your thoughts actually on that the various stakeholders were telling the government to subsidize the importation cost?
Yes, and actually I know the farm products, especially when you're bringing machinery, it's always subsidized if it's for agriculture use. And that is the way to go, because when I mentioned also, for example, even checking the avocado oil content, earlier you had to cut the fruit, split it, take it to the lab, and all that is done. But right now, without even cutting that fruit, it can be done with a machine. So technology is the way to go, and also farmers should embrace this. So apart from the apps, we have the machinery and equipment that also come in handy to do this. And actually, they make your work easier. They are more efficient than doing things the old way.
Mm-hmm. But what are your thoughts on the importation cost?
The importation costs are high, but as I said, the government, in agriculture products, I'm sure that 100% actually the government gives subsidies in terms of when you're importing agricultural machinery. Yeah, so the equipments are always subsidized. They are not taxed the same as importing other products for other different projects which are non-farming.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that, Dan. We'll move on to our next story about tea. Now, the Kenya Tea Development Agency, KTDA, has raised the red flag over unregulated registration of small-scale factories, saying that it could impact negatively on the industry. The agency says existing gaps in law regarding licensing of small-scale factories has contributed to thriving tea hawking, affecting operations of most of the 65 affiliated factories. Jacqueline Kemunto with more on that story.
Under the Agriculture and Food Authority tea regulations, to qualify for a license to start a new black CTC tea factory or orthodox tea, one must show they have at least 250 acres under tea. However, KTDA argues that the Food Regulations Committee has been considering licensing cottages for people operating on the low volumes with at least 20 hectares of land under the tea crop.
The tea industry, just like any other industry, has challenges, particularly in Kisii County. One major challenge is with the price of our tea leaf. Farmers find it a little bit low. And there's something that current trends, that farmers are now leaving their own factories, which they hold shares, and preferring for the private factories which are now coming. They feel like the private factories are giving them higher prices.
According to Section 19 of the Crops Act 2013, a tea factory shall not buy green leaf from any person other than the grower appearing in its register, while Section 14 of the same Act bars farmers from selling their tea to any party other than the factory they are registered in. Regulations notwithstanding, from the year 2014 to September last year, 33 private factories were licensed by the Tea Directorate with a capacity of producing 154 million kilos of tea in various counties.
Tea growing in Kisii, it's done in small scale. And there are about, actually there are 12 tea factories in both Kisii and Nyamira. Those are fully owned by small-scale tea farmers. And what the small-scale tea farmers have done, they have delegated the management to the KTDA, that's the Kenya Tea Development Authority. So KTDA is in charge of now advising farmers, giving them the expertise, procuring fertilizers on their behalf, and then supplying to the farmers. So most expertise and the technical support, we get it from KTDA, Kenya Tea Development Agency. It used to be an authority, but they changed to the agency. So it's KTDA which has done the management all along on behalf of...
Some tea farmers claim to having been enticed to sell their tea to private companies mainly because of the better prices being offered. While the agency pays farmers 15 shillings per kilo of green leaf per month, private processors pay between 20 to 22 Kenya shillings.
They are not giving them any higher price, because if we have to be paid 17 shillings per kg for the tea we sell in the buying centers, usually at the end of the year, there is the bonus which we get after the factory has traded with the final produce of tea. And this bonus is what helps farmers maybe pay school fees and develop themselves. For the private factories, they'll lie to you that they are giving you, let's say, 20 shillings per kg compared to, let's say, 17 shillings of what KTDA now offers. But the 20 shillings is buying the green leaf. With the bonus, you are not guaranteed because that's their own business. They will not give you the bonus. So farmers look at the short term. They want quick money, but in the really sense, what the private factories are offering is a little bit low than what KTD is offering farmers. So we have a challenge with price, and price is majorly determined by the market, the tea market at the auction. I can say KTD has done a good job because all along this industry has been stable for long. We have not had situations where farmers miss payment, though farmers complain the prices are a little bit low. If there is something they can do, then they can increase the prices which they offer farmers.
Most counties have been greatly affected by tea hawking, which has since seen KTDA lose up to 680 million Kenya shillings to the trade and 200 million kilos diverted to other processors countrywide. Reporting for Farmers TV, I'm Jacqueline Kemunto.
What is your take on that story?
Tea, coffee has been some of the crops that in Kenya we've been relying on for a very long time. And when you hear those kind of stories, it comes back to the issue of, we talk of brokers. And it's the same red flag that is being raised, that there are too many intermediaries. So by the time the tea leaves the farm, by the time it becomes the end product, the intermediaries in between, and now, for example, they are talking the small factories coming up, and coming up with their way of doing things, then it becomes very difficult for farmers. So I actually agree that the government should have some farm regulations. For example, the Kenya Flowers Council, earlier, before they had their regulations, the Kenya flower was just a normal flower, but now it's a gem in the world market. When you have flowers from Kenya, because of the regulation and good agricultural practices and the certifications and the standards that were set. So I think it's the same thing. As much as people are coming up with these factories, then we should have standards and regulations which now protect the farmers and also protect the country as a whole in the international market.
Mm-hmm. Dan, you find that sometimes one of the motives that came up of this small-scale factories is that you find that tea farmers want to be able to get more profit from their own produce. You find that there's even a statistic that came out that many tea farmers don't even know how their tea tastes like. Yes. But do you think maybe these small-scale factories are a good thing, or are they entirely a negative thing?
With regulations, because again, the question is, why are these small factories coming up? It's because, again, when you talk of the prices, maybe the main buyers are not buying as well as they used to be. But when an intermediary comes and gives me better money, this is business. So naturally, somebody will go for the good money. They do not care. So, but if the main buyers, the KTDAs and the rest, were buying at a prime price and taking care of the farmers, then it will be very even difficult for these small factories to come in. But they have seen a gap and they want to bridge that gap. How it is done is the problem, because maybe they are coming, no regulations and all that. And the main players also now start feeling the pinch. So there should be regulations, and also the main big players in that industry should also up their game and maybe try and bridge this gap rather than letting so many small factories come in. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dan, for that. Let's move on to our next story. Lack of certified seeds and poor marketing strategies have continued to hamper the lucrative potato trade in the country. In a bid to address these challenges, the National Potato Council of Kenya, NPCK, has launched a campaign to give farmers marketing tips dubbed business-to-business B2B marketing strategies.
Nakuru County is the second largest producer of potato crop in Kenya after Nyandarua County. There are about 20,000 farmers growing potato on more than 38 acres of land in Nakuru, with a total production of 160,000 tons of assorted variety being grown. According to the county executive in charge of agriculture, Immaculate Njude, potato is one of the leading crops in Nakuru County, and the devolved unit is committed to ensure farmers earn more through enforcing tough measures on packaging and provision of certified seeds to the farmers. Immaculate continued to say that due to lack of information, many local farmers were not aware that there are many potato varieties apart from the popular Shangi. William Doleman Jr. is the managing director for Agrico, a seed propagating company that is based in Nakuru.
We have a total of 13 varieties registered on the national list, and we'll slowly add by adding a few varieties over the years to have a slightly bigger selection. But we found it important to start with a good small amount of varieties for the right markets for farmers to start off with.
According to William, in order for farmers to have a competitive edge in the market, they first of all need to buy the right seeds. The other pointers that farmers need to put into consideration is the way they plant their seeds.
So with potato planting, it's very important that you have the right soil cultivation. We make sure that when we start, we make sure the fields are clean. There's no big rocks or it's relatively level. There's not a lot of weeds. If there are weeds, that they've been killed off before planting. Then what we do is we do soil testing in the different fields, where we get to see what we have in the fields, if there's any nutrients we're missing, how much energy we need to add. And then we do the spreader with the fertilizer spreader. We broadcast openly over the fields the amount of fertilizer that we need for planting. That then gets followed with a hook-tine cultivator, which cultivates the soil. It breaks it up about 28 to 30 centimeters. And that cultivator also has a ridging hood, so it takes all the soil and puts all the soil in ridges. While doing that, it also takes all the fertilizer that was broadcasted on the field. They all end up in the ridges by doing that. Once the ridging has been done, we come through with the planter. The planter comes and it cuts open the ridge in two. It plants the potato and it closes it and re-ridges it at the back. So now we have nice big ridges, big size, nice big shape, and the potatoes are there. When we plant, there's usually a bit of moisture in the soil, so there's moisture. It's nice and warm. The potatoes they'll start to grow. And then we let the potatoes come up to about 2 inches above the ground. And then we do a re-ridging. When the potatoes come up at about 2 inches, then also we get a lot of weeds. And by re-ridging, we cover the potatoes, but we also cover the weeds. So it blocks one round of herbicide. But then it also helps with the ridges. After planting, ridges sink in a little bit. Once you go over it with a ridger, you also have new ridges, and they sit much nicer, and the potatoes will come up again.
Meanwhile, the chairman of National Potato Council has assured farmers that his organization is working closely with Nakuru County Agricultural Department and Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Services to develop disease-resistant crops to improve farmers' yields and income.
What are your thoughts on that story?
The seedling production is very important because it's the base of everything. It's more of the foundation. If you get it wrong in the beginning, then the full crop up to the end, you will be getting wrong seedlings. You'll be getting even the wrong harvest in terms of even quantities, qualities, and all that. So one of the big challenges that we are having actually as a country is lack of this kind of information, and that's why I like the way they have the B2B in terms of production, in promoting and marketing of good seedlings for whatever industry, if it's the potatoes, if it's the avocados and all, because if you get it wrong in the beginning, or again, we have intermediaries and people with nurseries who are not genuine, and that's why we have the government institutions which come in, because even if you were to buy any product, they must be at least KEFI certified and Horticultural Cooperative Directorate certified, so that you can know whatever I'm going to plant, whatever, if it's potatoes, if the avocados, if whatever you're going to plant, the seedlings that you purchase must be certified. And then also again, we go back to what we've been talking about, technology again. A lot of research has been done in terms of seedling production and how to get the best breeding, interbreeding of for example, if it's if you want to do the trees, for example, when the grafting is doing and all, the grafting being done and all that. So if you get the right seedlings from the beginning, and also some of the seedlings which are more resistant to diseases, and again when we talked about water again. Some do not consume as much water as the earlier. So getting the right seedling is very important from the beginning, be it whatever crop you're doing. If you get it wrong from the beginning, then the full chain will be wrong.
Thank you, Dan, so much for joining us and for sharing your insights on all these stories. That's all we had for you on This Week in Agriculture. Be sure to keep the conversation going on our social media platforms at Farm Kenya. As we wrap up today, I have a quote for you. It says, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle." For This Week in Agriculture, I'm Esther Gishuki, your host. Until next time, goodbye.